PSG's Champions League hopes could be in jeopardy after star Kylian Mbappe went down with an ankle injury, and his status is yet to be determined for the upcoming match. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and this is your #1 source for learning about everything related to sports injuries and sports medicine news. In this video, we're going to be breaking down Kylian Mbappe's ankle injury, talking about what exactly happened, what the concerns are here for the star, and what it might mean for his Champions League playing return. If you enjoy learning about this unique side of sports, then please consider subscribing and go check out my Twitter page for more real-time injury breakdowns and analysis. And let's get started. Mbappe went down here with a right ankle injury with a mechanism that's very classic here after taking a hard tackle. Keeping an eye on his right ankle, this is the classic mechanism of an ankle inversion injury that leads to, most often, a lateral ankle sprain. So what's most likely here is that Mbappe has suffered a lateral ankle sprain. The question now is just how severe it is in terms of his playing chances going forward. What I have here is actually a right foot model. So this perfectly models Mbappe's injured foot. Now, when we say lateral, we mean outside. So this is a sprain to the ligaments on the outside of the foot. When we look back at the play here, the lateral portion of the foot is here where the arrow is indicating. And so it's an injury often to the ligaments here on this outside portion of the foot. Medial, on the other hand, would be the inside portion of the foot. Now, when we say inversion injury, that's the most common mechanism of an ankle sprain, and it's when the ankle rolls inward. An eversion injury is when the ankle would roll the other direction or outward. There's 3 lateral ankle ligaments that we have to worry about being injured when we see a mechanism like this. Now, ligaments, of course, connect bones to bones, and so these ligaments are named after the 2 bones that they connect. The first one, and the one that's most commonly injured with this type of mechanism, is the ATFL, which stands for the anterior talofibular ligament. Anterior means in the front, and as you can see, this ligament is the one that's most in the front of the foot. As we work our way around, this next one is the CFL, or calcaneal fibular ligament. And then finally in the back, we have the PTFL, or the posterior talofibular ligament. Now, it's easy to remember which of these are most often injured in a lateral ankle sprain. The most common, like I said, is this ATFL in front. And then you just work your way around. That's followed by the CFL ligament, and the least injured one is the PTFL, all the way in the back. So if we look at our model here, it's no wonder that these ligaments are going to be injured and stretched whenever his ankle goes in this position. As he's planting here, that inversion is completely pulling his ankle this way. So you can see, even just as I pull, one of these little ligaments here on my model gets pulled off. Of course, the big question here is, will he be able to play in the upcoming Champions League match that takes place on August 12th. I'm filming this on Friday evening US time on July 24th, and so this is just under 3 weeks away. We really don't know yet the severity of this injury, but there are some potential clues based on what happened after the fact. The first reassuring sign is that he was able to bear weight on his ankle immediately after the injury. This makes the likelihood of a fracture much lower on the list, and was very reassuring to see. Now, of course, we did see after the match that he had this sort of brace supporting his ankle and he was using crutches, so he wasn't putting weight on the foot. But I really think this was more precautionary. Most likely by this point, they've done x-rays to look and see if there is a fracture of the ankle associated with this injury. And if there was a fracture, I suspect he would have been wearing a much more protective boot, like something called a cam boot, as opposed to just this sort of lateral and medial brace that he's wearing here on the field. 2 of the more common places we can see a fracture with this type of injury are at the base of the 5th metatarsal here on the outside of the foot, and also here at the base of the fibula. And that's entirely because of all the forces being applied to this side of the foot whenever it rolls into this position. If that foot is rolling and then just smashing directly down into the ground, you can see how that would put a lot of load here on the bottom of the fibula bone and also put a lot of compressive load here on the bottom of the foot at this 5th metatarsal. Now, certainly if there's a fracture here, I wouldn't expect him to be playing on August 12th. But if it's just an injury to the ligaments, then depending on the severity, there is a chance that he could return. We grade these ankle sprains from a 1 to a 3, or mild, moderate, and severe. A common method we use to explain a grade 1, 2, and a 3 injury can be used with just a simple tissue. A grade 1 injury to these ligaments is going to be just basically some little kind of micro tearing and micro trauma in the ligament that really, unless you're up close, you're not going to be able to see. A grade 2 or a moderate sprain is going to be when there's more substantial partial tearing of that ligament where you can see more of a tear, but it's overall still not completely torn. That would be a grade 3 or a severe sprain where it's essentially completely torn in 2. If it's torn in 2, there's going to be a lot more instability in the ankle, which is why it's so much harder to recover quickly from a grade 3. With a simple, mild grade 1 lateral ankle sprain, he could certainly return within a week or 2 weeks in time for the Champions League match. Even a moderate or grade 2 ankle sprain sometimes can recover in this 2 to 3 week window, so it's still possible he could return there. Certainly if there's a grade 3 or a complete tear, I wouldn't expect him to be back for that next match. Now there's certainly other injuries that can occur here, and so we'll have to stay tuned to PSG's news to see what exactly might have happened here with Mbappe and follow his progress. It is important to know that with mild and moderate ankle sprains, we actually want to encourage some early mobilization to help that healing process. So if we see him in the next day or two putting some weight on that foot, doing some mobilization and some therapy, that's going to be a reassuring sign. If it's a grade 3 or a complete tear, then there is likely going to be some period of immobilization where we won't see him working right away to allow some initial healing to occur within those injured ligaments. So that's it for the video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. Let me know any questions or comments down below, and until next time, we'll see you later.